Hello and welcome back to the 80s Toy Museum. Taking a look at another custom Transformers repro set from Destron Designs. This is NB04, just like the other set that I reviewed. Everything is individually packed in these nice little sealed baggies, complete with these nice little pieces of artwork representing what you're getting in each one of these. These look so official. Really love that. And the rest of the parts, this is for G1 Jetfire. Oh, look at that. Even before I open that up, that looks gorgeous. This right here is so often missing on G1 Jetfire. I don't have any of those. And also another card included for Destron Designs, Instagram and Facebook. Key to Vector Sigma and the key to completing some of your incomplete vintage Transformers. So I'm sure most Transformers fans will know all about the legend of G1 Jetfire. For the few people who might not, check out the G1 Jetfire video I did on the channel a while back. And this is Macross Robotech Valkyrie, which was licensed out by Hasbro in the United States and Canada, North America, I guess. Very short run. He'll never be reissued, and he goes for quite a bit of money. He's one of the more expensive G1 Transformers, especially if he's got all his parts. That is a really, really tough thing to get this guy with all of his parts. And even if you do, they are extremely brittle. You can see some stress marks on this G1 Jetfire. Taking these off and putting them on is always very precarious. These break so often. I mean, it was fragile when it was new. Add 30 years of age, plastic gets brittle. G.I. Joe fans know all about that. And so, just with how brittle this stuff is, it really discourages me from playing around with this guy very much. And, you know, we love toys. We like to collect them, have them sitting on shelves and display, but they're toys. And that's one thing that I have thankfully never forgotten. They're toys meant to be played with. And the appeal of Transformers to so many adult collectors is that we're still able to play with them in a way that we did when we were kids, which is transforming. It's not so much the flying them around and pretending to have battles with them, but just kind of like a Rubik's Cube for adults, just transforming them. And when you have parts that are so fragile, it just kind of takes that fun away from it. So I'm going to take off all of the original parts off of this Jetfire. Going to open all of these parts up. You get 6 individually bagged part bags, and I'm going to stick them on Jetfire both in robot mode as well as jet mode and see how they hold up. Alright, I got all of the parts off, and I just want to say that sucked. That really was not fun. These are so fragile. You got to be so careful with these. It's exactly what I was saying. It takes all of the fun out of it. They're just so ridiculously brittle. I mean, there's a little tiny chip off of that. It was like that. Stress marks on these everywhere. So I'm even though I have all of the parts, save for the gun clip, I'm actually really interested in these because of hopefully how much more durable they'll be over these little thin, brittle versions of it. So let's open some of these up and do some comparisons with the originals to give you an idea of what the detail difference is as well as the quality. Let's start off with these little parts that attach to the forearms with the little guns on them. And here's a look at the custom artwork, which actually shows you how it's supposed to attach. That's fantastic for people who are not familiar with Jetfire at all and can't be bothered with looking up a YouTube video tutorial. I mean, sometimes even when you look up the tutorials, you have to search and search and search for the one part you're looking for. So it's nice that the instructions are included. So on the left is the original one, and on the right is the repro. And this is awesome that this is an actual separate piece, just like on the original one was. It's not just one big solid piece with the painted part. And that is just slid right in, just like the original is. It's got these grooves, just like the original has. I was mentioning in the first video for the Destron Designs repro parts that it does have the 3D printing lines on it, but it's not like most 3D printing parts I've seen. It's more of like a battle damage or a war robot kind of scoring on it, and I just realized what this reminds me of. This finish on it reminds me of the finish on a DeLorean or Gigawatt, the Transformers DeLorean crossover one they did. It has that really awesome stainless steel texture to it, and I really, really love it. It doesn't seem 3D printing to me at all. I think it's just fitting for a giant war robot. So the original glossy, smooth, that's nice. But to me personally, these 3D printing lines are not a step down to me. They actually look fitting, and I love the feel of them. The texture of them is really cool. So you got details there, some stickers on the original there, but that's there as well. And those are the clips that will attach. Now we've got a little difference here, and Mike fixes things. He modifies them and upgrades them in order to be improved over the originals. This all looks a lot sturdier and stronger than this original really kind of fragile looking version of it. So now that we've got these opened, look at that, that's awesome. Even have holes in the cannons. You could probably even plug in some blast effects in there. Let's attach these onto here, and they are ambidextrous, which is nice. Same on both sides. And in order to attach them, as the instructions say, you just clip on this back part onto the elbow and then swing it down and attach it to the wrist. So attach onto the back there and press. Nice satisfying pop on there. A little bit of a wiggle to line everything up. And it's on there. Nice and secure. Oh man, that is such a nice texture. I know some people, when they get the 3D parts, they want it to be as smooth and glossy as the original, so they sand it out and they buff it out, but I won't be doing that. I just love the look as well as the feel of these parts. Let's get the other one on the back there. Just attach to the elbow and thumb here, I guess, and press. Man, that is awesome. That is not as scary as attaching the originals. It's exactly what I was talking about. It brings some of the fun back to G1 Jetfire. And I want to test some of the tolerances and the strength of these parts now. So I'm just so used to being very, very meticulous and careful with not just original Transformers, but G1 vintage toys. And it's nice to just be able to handle a vintage Jetfire. This one has a little bit of damage. He's got a busted shoulder and a clip that doesn't really hold into his back anymore. But in order to just do that without even really thinking about it is incredibly satisfying. And just to check the strength of these, it's not intended for this. It's just for the purpose of review. I like to kind of test the limits of these for anyone who's curious. Because for me, the big thing when you're dealing with repro parts is, are they fragile? Ideally, I would love something that looks just like the original but is stronger. And I would say that Mike has improved the design of the original one here. These are made of the same plastic as the original set, Rodimus and Galvatron and Megatron parts that I took a look at in the last video. So they have just enough give. A tiny bit, not too much, not too little. And whew, that is unfinished business that I didn't know I needed. Being able to just handle this part that looks like this and not worry about breaking it. That's awesome, man. Bravo, Mike. So we're off to a great start. That's the shoulder joints, and I'll give you a full 360 once he's all geared up. Let's move on to the leg parts. So you get 2 individual bags, one for each leg, and this is my least favorite part of G1 Jetfire with his original parts. This sucks, taking them off. Putting them on isn't as bad, but taking them off, you have to disassemble them to take them off, which means pulling this out. And these are, look how long and thin these posts are and how deep they go into these post holes right there. That really sucks. There's probably a way to pull it off without disassembling the main part, but I mean, it's just riskier. You're gonna break these on there, and this is made of the same material. These are painted right here. So on the original, these parts are painted, these darker parts, and on the new one, Mike has painted it as well in a nice glossy paint. And that's a sticker as well on the original, so you can re-sticker these up if you pick up some repro stickers. Toy Hacks is a great site for getting those, formerly repro labels, and that's painted in the bottom there as well. So some of the 3D printing lines that you see on this, that nice DeLorean texture I talked about, when you paint it, it makes that texture a little bit more obvious. And there's a look on the inside. Let's connect these. See how well they fit. It's perfect. Perfect and not scary at all. One thing collectors are concerned about when you're plugging and removing parts like this is, over time, will it loosen? I'm not seeing any plastic getting torn off here, pinched off, or scraped, shaved off. And because of that 3D printing texture, it's got a really nice grip to it. Not going to need any clear nail polish or crazy glue. Just fantastic tolerances. And then you get this part, which on the original one is just so ridiculously thin and fragile, and that's supposed to hold into the robot. It's made of the more strong 3D printing plastic, and that just slides in good and tight. You can even hear that little bit of plastic squeak. You get a great grip on that. Plug that into there, and that's your assembled leg part compared with the original one. On the original one, you can see the stress marking from right here where it clips onto the leg. So many little different parts where that can break. And on the new one, it's just as thin as on the original one. I'm not going to put too much pressure on that, but I would imagine that that's going to be stronger than on the original one. And in order to attach it onto Jetfire. It's just nice paper too. It's nice and glossy. You do have to assemble it. So one piece goes on the leg and then you plug the other piece in. So we'll disassemble. And these parts, unlike the forearm parts, are not ambidextrous. You can't attach this to the other side. It has to have these little prongs go over top of the fin. Turn them around, get a view of those posts, and then take this part and just plug it in. Man, that is nice and secure. It's all about the tolerances on these posts right here. If that was too loose, this would all fall apart, but it is holding in there perfectly. This one is holding in there perfectly. This one is bendy enough, nice and sturdy, and the other big thing is how easy is it to take off if you want to transform him. Just get your thumbnail in there, separate it, comes off, no problem. So just like the forearm armor, it's no sweat, don't have to even be careful. I mean, you should be careful. Disclaimer, be careful, but I'm being purposely trying to be kind of ham-fisted here in order to test the tolerances of this stuff. So I'm disconnecting and reconnecting more than I would normally do just to show off the durability of it, and it's fantastic. Let's assemble the other one, slide this in like that. It's great on the other one as well, just to make sure both of them are the same. And test this on the other side. That's fantastic as well. Same deal. Put it over the fin here. Turn it around. Get a look at the holes. And slide that in there. I'm actually applying way more pressure than I ever have with the original G1 Jetfire parts. That's on there as well. Holding nice and tight. Give them a good shake. Just kind of being ham-fisted with it to show off if it's going to come flying off. No, those are on there perfectly. Yeah, absolutely perfect. Stellar, much like Jetfire himself. That is awesome. And some instructions are included as well, and these are much needed because there's a number of different ways that you could be attaching these. On either side, you do want to watch out though. This backpack part needs to be in this position, and then grab one of the jets. You need to be able to see the jet when you're attaching it. And since the hole isn't on the right side, grab the other one and attach. And attach the other one on this side as well. Nice snug fit. Not being careful at all. This backpack part that connects to Jetfire has some nice give in it, just like all the other plastic. I'm even kind of bending. Don't do this, but just to show you the durability of this. Look at the bend you can get in that. Do I dare on the original? Oof, I hear just like a slight creak when I do that on the original. Fantastic. And some detail comparisons here. The jets are painted glossy black on here, and you get some more black paint applications. Side by side comparison of the two. Every detail has been reconstructed. There's that really nice DeLorean kind of stainless steel finish to it. And the other side as well. The holes that were on the original are in the new one too. These are hollow, which you definitely need this thing to be hollow for how huge it is. You don't want it weighing on his back too much. Hey, and it stands perfectly fine too, just like the original. In fact, the original one is a little wobbly, and that just kind of represents all of Destron Design's repro parts right there, how sturdy, how much sturdier the original one is. Now, to attach this one to this Macross Valkyrie, you got to attach it from the bottom on this backpack and then swing it up and click it into place. So we get it underneath there first. This is kind of like a spacer between the wings and this jet backpack that's already on there. And this is the scary part with the original version. And that's just like everything else. It's not scary at all. It just clicks onto there and it looks absolutely gorgeous. It's awesome. Man, the more parts I get on him, the more I love this stainless steel looking finish on him. Just makes him look like such a battle bot. Love it. It's so good. So that's on there. I mean, my Jetfire has seen sturdier days. So he's not even gonna hold himself together. But these repro parts aren't letting go. I don't want to wiggle them too much because it's not really designed for that, but that's on there good and tight, good and secure. And in order to remove it, you just pull, basically. You get your fingers in there somehow and just pull off and slide down. And to reattach, just slide in and click, push, on there good and tight. This is really, really good for how ham-fisted I'm being. These jets aren't coming apart from the backpack. The backpack isn't letting go, even though it's still the original small-sized prongs holding on to Jetfire. That's absolutely astounding. Incredible. And for anyone wondering if the 3D printed repro parts are compatible with some of the original parts, if maybe you've got one of these originals and for some reason you want to use it along with some of the repro parts, they are actually compatible with each other. It's a perfect fit, and that could be a little tricky, plugging a 3D printed part into a vintage part. You don't want to break because this is much more brittle than this stuff is, but they do fit in perfectly with each other. And just to show you, plug that onto there, take this and plug that onto the leg. So you can see the difference in glossiness. The original part is a lot more glossy, and the 3D printed part has that nice DeLorean texture to it, but they are compatible with each other. And the same does go for the backpack. You can just take that off one of the jets, and so this is a repro jet right here. We find the vintage one and plug it in. Perfect, absolutely perfect compatibility. You can have a vintage jet on a repro backpack part. These are all cross compatible too. So this is a vintage little clip. This is the repro. Pull that out and slide that in. It's a perfect fit, nice and snug, no cracking, creaking, breaking. Absolutely perfect. tolerances on these are just so incredibly impressive. And down to the last part, it is Jetfire's blaster, which includes some instructions, which I'm going to need because I've never seen a gun clip in person. I've never handled one. I don't know how they work. So the instructions do say right arm only. You can only attach it to his right arm. That's good to know. Here's a comparison between the original gun and the new one. The new one is glossy. It's nice and glossy. It does not have the DeLorean battle-worn finish to it. It looks more like a G1 Transformer gun, like Optimus Prime's blaster, compared to the original one, which was gray. How's this for a reversal? The original one was gray and had a more kind of gunmetal semi-gloss finish to it. And it's the new one that's a little more glossy. I mean, you can't, it's not like a mirror, but it definitely has a more shine to it. I like this. There's no screw hole here. The original one had a screw, which screw holes can be unsightly and rust. It's been removed on the new one. The original one, this part moves up and down, and on the new one, it does not move. So just FYI. And the repro also has a hole for the cannon. All the details have been recreated here. Even the grooves on the handle. And there's the gun clip. So let's, first of all, before I use the gun clip, let's take a look and see how the gun fits in Jetfire's hand. Slide it down here. And that's a nice snug fit right there. That's not coming out. Looks like it's been pre-tested too. Because this is painted, some of the paint gets worn off because of the snug fit in the hand. And if you look inside the hand right there, there's a little bit of paint that's worn off in the hand. I just noticed he only has one gun gripping hand, so it's easy to remember which hand the gun clip goes on. He can't actually grip on the other hand. Stick that in there. So Jetfire can hold the blaster. I'm just curious about the grip of the original gun. It's about the same. Oh, got that popping off there. And the gun clip, let's figure out how to do that. Clips, it looks like on the forearm armor, with these pieces going in behind. And according to the instructions, it looks like you have to remove the forearm armor in order to, in order to get that in there. That's interesting. So there are these two little tiny long post groove type of things. And it looks like they plug in to the gap for Jetfire's fist, which is seized up on me at the moment, but that slides up in there, and so you just, I believe, clip that in there and it's held into place. That's nice and secure. And there's a hole right there for the gun to plug into. That's pretty cool. Go either that way, or I wonder if it could actually go on top too. Yeah, it does look like there's enough space to fit it in there, kind of give them a Megatron look, or a G1 Seeker, Starscream, Thundercracker, Skywarp. That looks really cool, actually. That's incredibly cool. Forearm mounted blaster cannon. Might actually prefer that over just plugging it in the hand and having him blasting. The problem with that, though, is you have to remove the forearm armor, which then he's kind of lopsided. I think I would prefer just having the forearm armor on there. I wonder if you could attach that to the forearm armor. It won't, there's no gap for that to fit in there. Also, it looks like there's little bumps on the sides here in order to hold it into place on the actual forearm. But it holds well enough that if you don't want to lose it, if you don't want to set it aside, you could just stick it on there. It's not clipped into place or anything, but it's holding. So that's satisfying. And now that he's in jet mode, we can attach all the armor pieces. The nice thing about G1 Jetfire was if you didn't have any of the armor, you could actually just display him in this mode without any armor. But if you do, fold that up like that. And the first thing we'll do is attach the forearm armor. So you pop the arms up a little bit in order to get access to the connection points. Pop that on there like that. Other side. Collapse them back in. And then the leg armor attaches the same way as it did in robot mode. Swing that in there. And push that in. Nice and secure. Other leg as well. Attach on like that. Feed this little part in through there. And this is really tricky doing this for a viewfinder on a camera instead of just really watching it with my eye as I normally would be doing it. Those are on there. And the final piece is the backpack, which just slides onto the back there, and then give it a good push. And there's G1 Jetfire all dolled up with the Destron Designs Repro armor in jet mode. So he is not as sturdy in this mode as he is in robot mode. A lot more floppy stuff. This thing is just a poor design on G1 Jetfire, the way this comes up like this. It's kind of like that in robot mode too, but it just makes him even floppier in jet mode. But all of his parts are on there. This backpack part, I'm finding, is the one part that pops off a little bit easier in jet mode than in robot mode. I don't know if that's just this Jetfire, but yeah, there we go. That's better. You give it a strong enough push, and it does grab on there a little bit more secure. So if you're finding it's popping off too easily, just give it a little more force, because it's not a G1 brittle plastic part. And finally, the gun clip. What are we going to do with this? Did some searching on the internet, trying to find out if there's any official place this is supposed to plug in. One picture I saw on the internet had it plugged on the underside of one of the jets. So I don't know if it will actually plug in securely. There is that hole in here, but I don't know if that's meant to fit in there. You can just attach that onto there, and then take the gun and either plug it on the top like so, or plug it from underneath like this. That looks a little better actually, but because it's not clipping into place, it doesn't hold as securely. Actually, if you push it back further, it gets a little bit of a better grip on it. Hey, that's not too shabby. Since the gun doesn't really plug anywhere else in jet mode, that'll do. My personal preference is when he's in jet mode, no gun at all. But different strokes for different folks. And if you prefer having all of the guns displayed in both robot as well as vehicle mode, then it's an option. So that's the latest set from Destron Designs, and depending on when you're watching this, it is either going to be available soon on his eBay store or is already there. So you can check out the link in the video description for that. Also a couple of other links for his social media. And Mike does some actual tutorial videos on how he makes this stuff, and it ain't easy. It is a very involved process. So that's cool that he puts those up too, so you can take a behind the scenes look to see how these are made. And I especially appreciate that because it looks like a lot of effort and a lot of passion goes into designing these. And it definitely shows. These are some really, really nice high quality repro parts. And like I said, different strokes for different folks. If you are a purist and you don't want anything to do with reproduction parts, if the originals and only the originals at any cost is what puts a smile on your face, then go for it. But if you're like me, and an important aspect of collecting vintage Transformers is functionality and durability, more so than just displayability, then this really brings the fun back to it. Worry-free, stress-free, anxiety-free, being able to futz with your toys. Here's another use of this gun clip. It's another fun part of toys, just discovering new things you can do. This gun clip, in addition to just kind of sliding onto the back of the armor, it looks even better slid onto the front here. So again, kind of giving him that Megatron look to it. It doesn't clip into place. It's not officially part of the design, but I like how that looks. So check out Destron designs for this set, as well as other G1 reproduction sets for Rodimus Prime, Galvatron, Megatron, and some more cool stuff on the way as well, including a G1 Megatron energy mace, like the one he used to duel Optimus Prime on Sherman Dam. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks again to Mike for sending these along, including a special Canadian version with working jets. Until next time, Nerdmas Day.